All right. Good morning, my true believers out there. It is January 1st of 2023, approximately 9:01 a.m. And as always on these Sundays mornings, it's a rainy Sunday. And it's rainy Sundays. When I was a kid, that was the time that I would not be able to go outside and play. And I would end up getting a stack of comics, jump on the bed, read those comics, and listen to the rain hitting the roof of the old trailer back then. I actually was going to start the day out with a hike in Virginia, all the national parks. The closest one to me is an hour away. Another one is probably an hour and a half away. Are as we are speaking, are doing a first day of the year hike. They do it every year. I was actually in bed asleep at least by 11 last night so I could get up, go out to one of those. And of course, where it's been raining and stuff, I just don't do that anymore. I have nothing to prove. I have hiked in the rain. I'm not above it. I was in the military. If it ain't raining, you weren't training. So it's not that. It's just I was just sort of like, I can go for a hike locally a little bit later today. So we may end up doing that. Get out of the house, wear the old body out, probably get a good night's sleep. Good morning. And Happy New Year to you, John C. And Happy New Year to everybody that pops up in here. Good to see you this morning, right? So the last couple of weeks have been interesting. I hope your Christmas went well. Our Christmas went fantastic. We actually did it on New Year's Eve, and due to everybody's work situation and stuff. And then the rain is messing with the internet, but I think we'll be all right. Anyway, and then on Christmas Day, I ended up doing a little bit of reading, and we ended up napping and just hanging out and enjoying some good food and everything. So I hope your Christmas went well. And I do have a Christmas present I want to show. If you have me on Instagram, you probably already seen it. My wife outdid herself. I do not like people making a fuss on me or spending a lot of money, but she did get a huge discount on this. I actually know where she got this from, and I know how much it was, and I'm very grateful. And out of the set that I'll show here a little bit, I believe there's 5 or 6 books in there, and I'm halfway through the first one. So you guys have shown up for comics. And I've got a few extra things to show besides just the comics. And but anyway, with this new year coming up, I don't do the resolutions, so don't worry. This new year, new me crap, that seems to be a thing right now that people are laughing at and assuring people that for some reason on social media is that they'll be the same asshole they were last year and stuff. I don't know why they feel the need to make that announcement, but hey, okay, all right. I guess it's just part of the fun. But with me, what's going on is I've just noticed that in my evolution of reading and collecting and doing this stuff and still reorganizing the room when I have time to get down here and get motivated and stuff. There is a change and stuff. I'm reading more actual pulps and novels and stuff, and I'm doing a little bit of drawing and doing a few things. I can definitely tell there's a big change, and it basically comes down to the big quagmire of the uh, comics that are worth reading drowning in the ocean of mediocrity that's out there today and stuff, right? So yes, there are good comics out there, but it is so hard to find them and stuff, right? I do have a Gmart haul that is almost ready to get shipped to me. So I figure this month in January, there'll be a new comic book, if you will, haul coming up later in the month when they ship my books out to me. In the meantime, I have plenty to read, plenty to do, and I seem to fall around in things. And what I've learned as I have turned into one of those people. I'm sure I've done this before in the past, but on those nights when the insomnia hits and I can't sleep and stuff, I need to stay off eBay and I need to stay off Amazon because I've turned into one of those shoppers there. So I find these great deals on eBay. I overdid it over the last month or two. I kind of chuckle about it. So I ended up having a few things to show there, right? So first, let me show you, give people time to show up for the good stuff in the comics. Some of the things I found in my travels during work and stuff and everything. But it was real interesting. the weather about tried to kill us last week. I don't know where you're at and stuff, but we got down to below zero temperatures and below 10-degree temperatures there for a while. And at my office, we actually had a pipe burst over the Christmas vacation while we were all off of work. And we came in our lobby, our front office, and then the three or four, you go through a secure door that you got to log into. And then the first four, I don't know, four or five sets of offices were underwater. I mean, literally. So I come in, we got 5 or 6 shop vacs going on. We got people working on the pipes and stuff first thing in the morning. And I spend about my first hour of work with a shop vac, getting water up, helping out everybody. And of course, my shoes ended up getting wet. So when I went out, I decided I'm going to get a new pair of shoes, some dry socks, because it was still cold as shit outside. And I was traveling for work. I ended up stopping at a Walmart when I was getting shoes. And you know me, I went to the clearance aisle while I was doing that. And this is still pricey. I still think this is hilarious that this is what the clearance price was. But I could not pass this up. This is one of my favorite Jack Kirby designs ever. I fell in love with this with the people breeders. I'm pretty sure my stepdad, when I was a kid, I can't imagine that I had the original Thor. I don't know, what was it, 134 or whatever, the first appearance of this character. But it's probably a Marvel Spectacular or one of those reprint series, but I have it somewhere with his first appearance. But like I said, I can't imagine that it was the actual first appearance, and it may very well have been. But anyway, I fell in love with this character. And at the time that I was reading the reprint, he was actually in the Fantastic Four written by Barbara Wolfman, fighting Galactus, Fantastic Four 175. There's a little run there. And it's that infamous story where the Impossible Man tricked Galactus into eating a sour planet, if you will, and he ended up getting cosmic indigestion. I believe that was the actual term, if you will, right? Over the years, this guy would pop up, and the next person I saw that could draw a fantastic version of this character was Art Adams and things. But anyway, I got and I'll probably end up cracking this open, but I ended up getting a high evolutionary figure. I have no idea what series of this is. Action figures this is, but apparently Fantastic Four have a solid one. What's wild is that it has the 90s cartoon version of these characters on there from their season 2 when they got it's season 1, judging by that thing. That season 1, the animation was rough. Season 2, they got John Buscema and a few people to come in. If you go back and watch that 90s cartoon, and they got their shit together. One of the greatest Fantastic Four cartoons ever made was that second season. So I don't recall High Evolutionary popping up, but yes, and he comes with extra hands. Not sure why. And apparently there were some great designs in here of Psycho Man stuff, right? But this is one of, you have the Black Racer, which by Jack Kirby, a design that I just can't get on board with. And then you turn around and you have gold, like the High Evolutionary. Of course, it's more or less a cosmic, I hate using that word cosmic, but when it comes to Jack Kirby, with all the power cosmic and stuff that was out there at Marvel and stuff, this is Dr. Maru. You know what I mean? The whole concept of evolution and everything like that, and making those beasts, if you will, his Knights of Wundagore and everything. But at the same time that I was reading those as a kid, the Yesterday's Quest had come out, and when they retold the actual origin of Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, you found out they had ties to the High Evolutionary, and their nanny was Bova, a super evolved cow, and things like that. So there's a little stretch there when I was 5 and 6 where it felt like, with the stack of comics that I had from the stepdad and stuff like that, that the High Evolutionary is everywhere. So yeah, I'm very happy to have this, despite it being on sale for what it was. It looks like I think it's been open. There's some tape or something down here. I see a little gap. So I'm probably going to end up opening this. I don't know. It looks like it's already been open. And it may end up here beside my dark side or something. I don't know. But anyway, very happy to have that. Grown-ass man collecting toys. And there's people looking at me like, how could you say that? So, what can I say? Happy New Year, Breen. Good to see you, sir. Thanks for joining me on the New Year's Day. I'm kind of glad there's people out there who aren't hungover and didn't stay up all night, or you did stay up night and you're here. So, way to go. Crazy how nice it is this weekend after the bitter cold last week. Yeah, like I said, hopefully this rain is going to pass. It's already like in the high 40s, maybe the 50s, and that's actually my kind of weather. I'm a hairy guy. Falsa streaming at 9 in the morning, 2 days in a row, not playing into old people stereotypes at all. Hey, I have been doing this for years at 9 in the morning, so I've been an old soul. Let's put it that way. And I'm now probably an old man. So I've been perpetuating that stereotype for a while. My wife loves it. She points out every old man thing that I do. What do we got here? Uh, Nice Fantastic Four. Oh, thank action figure thing. And Breen, what for you people that don't know, I just assume with the circle of people who show up for us and stuff, Dr. Silver Age and Shannon, solid 4-string bends, ST bends and stuff, did a fantastic show that I caught a little bit in the morning. Combo Book Collector Origins or something like that. But it's on Dr. Silver Age channel. Go check it out because I will be checking it out the next time that I'm driving around and stuff and listening to it. Hey, Brian LCS is here. Hey, Happy New Year to you too, Brian. Okay, so I was talking about for you people that popping up how I've got to stay offline when I have that insomnia because I end up playing around on eBay and I end up looking at Amazon and stuff. Let me make sure I got everything. I'm going to laugh if I've ended up forgetting something, which I think I did. That's okay. We'll go through here and there it is. Okay, so the first thing that I found, I didn't even know these came out. Despite me ordering my comics online, my new comics online for years, it seems like I miss a few things, and sometimes it's the listings. I think they kind of update the listings throughout the month with the store I did, or at least they did back then. Or I just completely looked over this, which I don't understand how I would have with this, right? But one of my favorite things that I read by Alan Moore was From Hell, and it came out serialized with Eddie Campbell, serialized from like, I don't know, 89 to about 98. And again, if you have me on Instagram, you already know what I'm talking about, right? But the rumor, the grapevine back then was that Alan Moore, no internet, you know what I'm saying? Wizard wasn't really out. Comic Scene was coming out. The magazines for comics back then were much more reliable, with Kraft and stuff, doing real interviews and treating these people like stars and stuff. But throughout the around 94 and stuff, people would come up with the story, which I've always taken as true. But Alan Moore took like 5 years and he did nothing but like jump off of something Stephen King said about Jack the Ripper and who he was and the motivations behind it. He took that and he meticulously was studying Jack the Ripper for 5 years to make this serialized series. And at the same time, he was also studying magic, getting into becoming a warlock, wizard, if you will, and stuff, understanding spells. There's all kinds of stuff on YouTube you can pull up where he's talking about it, with what he sees and what he says, and he's pulled that into his H.P. Lovecraft stuff, right? But this came out serialized and it was black and white, and luckily I read maybe 1 or 2 issues as it was coming out serialized through, I think it was Kitchen Sink Press or something. I could be wrong. But anyway, and, reading in chapters like that, I'm like, oh, this is going to be good, but it would probably be better to read the whole thing. So it came out in black and white in a trade finally. I have it here somewhere. And I actually almost got rid of the trade. It was so thick and so massive. And then at the back of it, he had citations and things like that where he went almost panel by panel and was giving you the history of anything that he put in there or where it came from or whose book he had referenced and cited or whatever, right? I mean, it was a massive undertaking. Guys, let me know if you can hear me. I'm showing I'm having internet problems because I'm sure it's a storm. But anyway, so around, I think this is like 2017 or 18, it came out in color. The original was in black and white. And I remember, and the reason I can't believe I missed it is that the years are just flying by, because I remember seeing the funding, asking for funding to help do a hardcover version of this in color. And it feels like to me that just happened. Well, before they did that, I found one of these 2 or 3 months ago, number 4, I think, but I didn't even know these came out. But they did a 10-issue series where they took, I think, 2 issues a piece of the serialization. I haven't cracked these open yet. I flipped through them. Let me put that back. I did crack them open, but I haven't read them. But they took From Hell, and Eddie Campbell came in and he colored it. And I got to tell you, I got no problem with a lot of things being in black and white, but like with Bone, I enjoy Bone with the color, with the Scholastics collections and stuff, right? And I got to say, this really enhances the story from what I've seen. So I ended up getting for $17. These were $8 a piece when they came out, but for $17, maybe $17.50, I ended up getting the whole set. And when they came in, only one or two of them I needed to clean the back of them. I don't know what the gunk was that was on them. But anyway, I get to reread From Hell and take my time with it. This is the one I already had that I discovered. I had no idea they had done this, right? This just kind of shows you things are flying by. I also ended up digging out, and I have found books from 2016 I haven't read. And all these years are just flying by now. Talk about an old man stereotype out there, Bree. So anyway, From Hell, I've got assorted first print collection issues from the original serialization that ran throughout the 90s. And then I had the big trade that everybody got that came out in 99. And now I have the color version. I have no problem. Check out that cover. They've taken actual panels from inside the book and made them into the covers. And this is just creepy. I love it. I love that cover. Taking that panel. So anyway, yes, From Hell, 10 issues. Very cool. And some good stuff, right? Now, I'm going to warn you, if you have not read From Hell and you just saw the Johnny Depp movie, which I can't believe was like 20, 21 years ago, that movie was a good effort. But while all it did was like give you this much of that much story, and it kind of got the smell of it. You know what I mean? The smell of From Hell. It's a trailer. The movie is actually a trailer for the book. So if you read the book, I almost dropped out in the second chapter. The second chapter of From Hell really took a toll on me because it's very wordy. And basically, we have a character taking another character, and they're doing a tour of Victorian England. And they're talking about how this building, the stones and stuff were made from Egypt. And this building was made by the Masons, and this building and this building. And you're just getting like this big history of all these buildings in London while they're running around in a carriage. And I stuck in there. I was like, oh my God, this is horrible. And then at the end of the story, you get the hook. You see what they're doing. This is necessary information. The first issue is to hook you and let you know what's going on, and you know who Jack the Ripper is right out of the way. And this is showing that theory. The second issue is explaining. It's exposition that is needed because you find out that all these buildings he talks about, if you did an aerial view of them, they make a pentagram, and it's real. I'm like, all of a sudden you're like, oh, the shit got real. After that, it's a fantastic read. The first issue, and then 3 through 10, or however the chapters are set up with this book. But that second issue, guys, hang in there. That was a rough reading. Hey, comic collectors here. Good morning. Okay, now these I ended up catching up on hauling off our trash and stuff. Go to the dump, take it out of the building, do the main thing, stop and get me a cup of coffee at McDonald's. And then after I hauled the trash off, I'm like, man, it's a day off. I'm out. I just went ahead and went to the mall because there's some things from Hobby Lobby I wanted. And I found my honey pot up there. I've got 2-3 honey pots, and I've already talked about these people, but I buy comics off these people all the time. And there's almost an awkward situation when I bought these, right? I made my stack. I put 4 or 5 books back. The people that sell this, and they're professional flea marketers, if you will, but they're able to set up in this mall, and they actually have a building, one of the old stores in there that they store all this stuff in. That's why there's a variety and stuff, right? I don't know what kind of deal they've set up, but good for them. So I deal with the mom all the time with the books. She's over the books and stuff, and I get these great deals: 24 books for $20, 17 books for $12, 15 books for $5. Just depends on her mood. We have nice little chats, or I just listen while I'm flipping through their books. And this time the son came over, and I'm like, well, I've got this many books, and I'm used to dealing with them. It's all awkward. So he was, we made the deal. And then when he walked off, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to get the rest of these books and I'll talk to the mom about it. And then it looked like I was stealing the books. I took the 5 books and went ahead to add them to the stack. And I just went ahead and looked there and said, just take the 20. They didn't notice, but I thought it looked bad. And it was just more me. They didn't think anything about it. They must know me or something. But it really looked like I was trying to like steal some books. No offense, guys, but I'm just not the type of person that you know, feels the hassle to steal comic books. I just don't get it. So anyway, the first part of this stack is ill-gotten gains almost, you know. But anyway, I got this for reference, and after I read this, I actually something is happening, man. I'm really getting into the actual funny books and stuff, right? But this is Now Comics, a beat up version of it with a pinup of this cover. Okay. Little take on RoboCop, which cracks me up, and of course they put an X on there. You know, it was the era, 89 probably. But this is issue 21 of Now Comics, The Real Ghostbusters, based on the cartoon series that ran from what was it, guys? Like 86 to 91, 85 to 91. And I got to tell you, man, I flipped through this last night, and I was entertained. I was like, this is kind of fun. Not Shakespeare, not George Perez art, but I had a good time with it. And I'm sitting here like, Now Comics, man, they keep having these little gems here and there and stuff, right? So I may be on the, I don't know, I may be on the lookout for some real Ghostbusters. What is going on? I don't know. Okay, and then I got this. I was so happy about 2-3 months ago. Again, if you have me on Instagram, you saw this. I finally finished the Comico Johnny Quest series. Issue 31 was a beast to find. And when I found it, that book was going for $30 to $40 on eBay. Not the actual price of the value of the book, but it's eBay. And I found it for something like $1.79. Of some odd number, like $1.79 or something. So I got it. I was so happy. And I actually got more love from the Muggles on Facebook, because I share my Instagram posts sometimes on my Facebook. And Instagram has a lot more of the comic book collectors on it. Facebook is people I know in real life. There's quite a few people in real life that I know collect comic books on there and stuff. But when it's shared over there, you know, I didn't really get an impressive number. That's not important to me. It's just the observation of what I'm talking about here, right? So I didn't really get a lot of love. You know, my buddies were there. Don't get me wrong. My buddies were there. They got it. You finished the series. Way to go. And it's Johnny Quest and it's cool. I mean, I still had my love. But it just cracked me up that on Facebook, I got something like 3 times more attention for that book from the Muggles and stuff. People who just love Johnny Quest or got it or thought it was fascinating and stuff, right? And I posted some comics there before. That's never really happened before, but it just cracked me up. I'm like, who knew that Johnny Quest would be the bridge between worlds? You know what I mean? So I'm looking through there. And number one, this is a Doug Wildley cover. But it's cracking me up because I did not know that Comico had newsstand editions. I never saw them that I can recall. So I ended up getting number 12 with this beautiful Doug Wildley cover, the creator of Johnny Storm, if you will. And it's a newsstand edition. So this is probably my second Johnny Quest newsstand edition. So of course I got this. I paid $20 for this whole stack I'm showing you, and I haven't counted how many books there are. Now this book is, I want the comic book historians out there to listen. Okay, this one's for you. You'll know who this guy is, maybe. But Joe Gilla, Giella, is one of the, how can I say this, more respected workhorses in comics you've never heard of. This guy was an inker. This guy had been around since the golden age. He was the inker, sort of. The artist, if you will, for the artist. Even though you never hear him talked about, I've never heard anybody in a video talk about him. I've never heard the comic book historians talk about him, but I saw the name. You know what I mean? Like I never really dug in there and stuff, but it was so good to see him drawing something, which cracked me up. But this guy was like, it's still kicking. I think he was teaching art in 2010, and this guy is creeping up. I mean, he's in his 90s now, right? But anyway, I cracked up, but for $1, I found this near mint book and record, The Amazing Adventures of Hollow Man. And I remember seeing this as a kid, right? The record is fantastic. These are the people that were putting out the Planet of the Apes, the Neil Adams Batman features that they hired him on to do for this. That's probably a Neil Adams drawing right there. I don't know. It's Neil Adams like, you know. But I did these as a kid. I still have like a little collection here as I pick up. And I usually get these for $10 a piece when I find them at flea markets. The record is mint. It's beautiful. They did Man Thing and everything. And Joe Gilla, very John Buscema like. I thought it was a Buscema. Actually got to draw this one himself and show his drawing chops. And he's a great storyteller, even though it's Hollow Man, right? But it's cracked me up that Joe Gilla is one of those uncelebrated guys. He was right there side by side with Joe Kubert when he was starting out and things like that. You know, this guy goes back to the 40s when they were making up the rules and figuring out the psychology and the storytelling techniques and stuff. You know what I mean? When they were building this hobby. So that was kind of cool to find. I'm actually just going to get on eBay and see if somebody has uploaded the record. There's quite a few on there. That record is so mint. I just don't think I'm up for turning it around and doing something with it. Almost, you know, taking the possibility of messing it up. We'll just stick those there. Okay, we'll speed up here a little bit. Scout by Tim Truman, number 22. I'm just piecing together volume 1. I know I have the first year of this, and then it's sporadic. Eclipse Comics, I'm not rediscovering, but I'm having a huge appreciation for them. But this is issue 22, and I have sporadic issues. I have the first 6 signed by Tim Truman. I actually got to talk to him about Scout. Dystopian / post-apocalyptic Apaches and stuff, right? Good stuff. Good stuff. I can't recommend Scout enough. And now I'm diving into something I probably read. First time I saw Airboy was in Total Eclipse, probably in 1990. And that's where they were celebrating a 10th anniversary. It was probably before 1990, to be honest with you. Probably around 88 or something, 89. But what they did is they came on and they called it Marvel Wolfman, Mr. Crisis on Infinite Earth, and they decided to do an anniversary crossover for Eclipse, where they took all these creator-owned different, characters from different worlds, and some acquired because they went into public domain or whatever. It's Eclipse Comics and stuff, right? And they did a 4-issue prestige format. Bill Sienkiewicz covers, Marv Wolfman writing kind of a Crisis on Infinite Earth. And in the middle of it was this Airboy from the Golden Age and stuff that had been brought back, and Chuck Dixon was writing them and stuff. And it caught my eye because he had this Skeletor-like villain, that I'm going blank on right now. Of course, the big deal with that is Neil Gaiman was coming on Miracle Man, taking it over from Alan Moore, and I think it's issue 3 has a Neil Gaiman Miracle Man story in it, giving you kind of giving you a feel of how the world has changed. A kid has lost his virginity. You never see the girl because she's all fetal position in the bed trying to go to sleep. But anyway, the whole story takes place with a guy in bed lighting a cigarette up after he's lost his virginity. And he's talking about that's probably the first, I can't remember, I think he said it might be the second greatest thing ever to happen to him was losing his virginity to this wonderful woman who's this real passive, and he's like in love. And the first greatest thing he ever did was meet Miracle Man for a minute when he flew down and he was sparkling. And then they start telling stories of what's going on in the world. Anyway, but in the middle of it was Airboy, and I've always had people tell me to check out Airboy. I've got an issue or two I got out of 50-cent bins, a quarter bins, I don't know. And then James Robinson did this very weird take on, did an Airboy story where it was more about James Robinson, and Airboy was sort of, I don't know, man. You just got to see it. You just got to read it. But anyway, with this great Rick Veitch cover, I've got some early issues of Airboy to check out now to get a feel for this and see if I want to check it out. I've heard people talk about this for a while, and it's usually when Chuck Dixon is brought up. The conversation will be Chuck Dixon, and then it'll be about Airboy. So here's a fantastic Rick Veitch cover from 87, and that's the villain. I can't believe I can't think of what his name is, his main nemesis, if you will. And then I had to get this cover. Check out this rat. The rats are back. Apparently, we have evolved rats. I love this. This reminds me of my favorite book from the 50s, a post-apocalyptic book called Starman's Son, where some of the rats have evolved and they have bigger brain cases and stuff when he goes into the city. But I absolutely love this painted cover that's not getting justice. It's a very dark cover, but I love this. Howler Mouse, go figure, looking at rats. I hate rodents. And then we got the Heap. the heap pops up in this, and the heap was in the Total Eclipse crossover I was talking about, right? Now, the heap is one of those uncelebrated characters that people need to realize. I think he came out during the Golden Age, and he's a monster. And today, when we think swamp monsters, we think Swamp Thing, Man Thing. People get caught up on like who created what first. Steve Gerber and I think Lynn Wine or something were like roommates, and so it's gone back and forth on who actually ripped off who. And I don't think anybody ripped off anybody. The missing piece to, and there used to be videos on this history and things like that, right? But at Heroes Con in Charlotte, North Carolina, we're going to say between 2000 and 2003. I'll throw in an extra year just to be sure, right? But at Heroes Con, I was having Roy Thomas sign some All-Star Squadron, my Conan the Destroyer DVD. And with Roy Thomas, it was great. Don't get me wrong, it was absolutely great. But Roy Thomas is a storyteller through and through. You don't have a conversation with Roy Thomas. You might ask a question, and then he just goes off and gives you like fantastic information. And from what I got from Roy Thomas that I have not seen published, doesn't mean it's not out there now. I'm telling you a 20-some-year-old story. But basically, Roy Thomas brought up the fact that the reason Marvel and DC didn't go to court over the Man Thing, Swamp Thing similarities and things like that is they knew that they were like, hey, man, if we go to court, we're going to be bringing up the heap and we all might be in trouble. So if it wasn't for the heap, you probably wouldn't have had Swamp Thing and Man Thing. A little history there for you, right? This is a Stan Watt cover, which this is a fantastic cover. So even if I don't end up enjoying Airboy, I got to tell you, this cover right here, I could see me framing that very, very zombie-like. It's a bunch of rats dressed up like bikers and stuff, rat men and stuff, right? But this is just fantastic. I mean, that is a pulp cover. This is the kind of stuff I like. Feels like it's a throwback to like a 50s EC movie poster or something, right? If they had those, right? And then we had, I just kept going, man. Armies of the Slain. So all of a sudden we got like zombies jumping down. This is very heavy metal like for me. Heavy Metal, the movie, if you will, the magazine, right? So all of a sudden we got, an army of the undead parachuting down, not just dropping like flies. They're dead, so you figure they would just jump out, land on the ground, and come at you. I think that'd be more of a mind fuck. But anyway, and then I got issue 33, where out of everything I've shown you, this seems to be the most underwhelming cover out of everything I've seen. So as far as it goes with covers, we'll be checking out Airboy, folks. I don't know. We'll see what goes on there. All right. All right, comic collectors right here. This is Ghostbuster Talk. Like I said, the older I get, the more I enjoy the funny books. I tell you what, I mean, I always liked a variety of reading. You know what I mean? I've read the Carl Barks Donald Duck. Ralph Snart has been brought up here many times. I have some of the, I like Spooky, Casper's cousin or whatever that is. The one who wears the derby and stuff, right? William Bird Eclipse first, and some of the other 80s publishers that are no longer around have provided me a wealth of great material to hunt after without paying inflated back issues prices. Absolutely. And I feel it's so wild. I hated that I couldn't find this stuff when in the 80s, when I was still in middle school and high school collecting this stuff, didn't have a comic book shop and stuff. And it all worked out. It all worked out because now I don't pay the cover price for what they were. They were, good. It's a good deal. All right, I'll show you why I got this, man. I'm a Space Ghost fan. I already a Hanna-Barbera 60s fan all the way around. Don't get me wrong. Herculoid, I love all that stuff. Herculoid, Space Ghost, Impossibles, Galaxy Trio does not get enough love. All that stuff, right? I'm there, right? Even like a little Huckleberry Hound, if you will, every now and then. The original Lebowski, I think. Anyway, but I saw these and I'm like, I'll just throw them in there, right? Because I already have these, but there's nothing wrong with having doubles. But issue 2 and 4 of Joe Kelly's Space Ghost origin, and the tone is fantastic. This is for grown-ups. This is not the Hanna-Barbera style of storytelling, but the characters, it's still Jan, Jace, Blip, all of them and stuff, right? And basically, it's a Western in space. It's the origin of Space Ghost, how he came to be, how he was a sort of a space ranger cop, how his family was killed, how, if you've watched the Space Ghost cartoons, or you watched the Space Ghost Coast to Coast, the praying mantis alien, which I can't believe I'm going to blank on, but that's all right. Turns out his race actually like were invading planets and stuff because they were eating people. You know what I mean? Like, this is some hardcore stuff. The tone is very cool, very adult, not exploitive, not hyper, it's not hyper violent and hyper sexual, if you will, and stuff like that. But he just gave it some, the tone is just very real world, very grown up, I think, as much as it could be for a sci-fi story. And it's just one of my, I love it. Like I said, it's a Western in space. Some of the best sci-fi, like the original Star Wars, is a space Western. That was the trick. Horror movies are actually comedies. Sci-fis are actually Westerns. It's good stuff, right? But anyway, I would love to see them do Thunder the Barbarian in that same tone. I would love to see that. That's my dream project I would love to see come out. All right. And then I checked this out. This is number one. This is all I've seen. And what's funny is I've been seeing this in 50-cent and dollar boxes for years. I think there's only 6 of them. Yeah, 6-part miniseries. I see in advertisements in my old comics all the time. I think I actually have an Amazing Heroes or two where it had like, a full page spread and stuff. So I was like, let's do it. This is the new DC. So I've got Spanner's Galaxy, 80s. It's the 80s, son. Okay. We'll see. I don't know what to say about it. Don't know. That and the Conquerors of the Barren Earth and Lords of the Ultra Realm. Electric Warrior. There's all these eclectic stuff that are of its era that I need to get. Slash Maraud made me open to this stuff. If you know what that is and stuff, right? That's Doug Mooch, Paul Gulacy, 80s schlock that is just fantastic. Okay, I will pick up this book. It's another silly book, right? But I got this off the stands. Fell in love with it. I was already a Legion fan. I was already a Legion of Substitute Heroes fan because they had a feel to them, even in the Silver Age story reprints that I read in my adventure comics when they went digest and things like that. But they came right out with in 1985 when I was 12. This is probably my 4th, 5th, 6th copy. Who knows? But this is a direct edition, no UPC symbol. But Legion of Substitute Heroes one shot that is freaking hilarious, right? And then to go along with that, Keith Giffen did a few things with Ambush Bug in DC Comics Presents, and he had Superman getting ready to fly off into the future. Ambush Bug gets caught up in his cape, ends up in the Legion of Super, the year 3085, whatever it was, right? It's 1,000 years in the future, and instead of the Legion, we end up getting the Legion of Superheroes with Ambush Bug running around doing his Deadpool slapstick shit. So there was like a lot of love for Legion of Superheroes there, right? I got this off the stands. I bought this month to month. I was one of those guys, I'm 13, 14. John Byrne has come over to DC. I'm buying everything up that he gets. And the first crossover event they have after Crisis on Infinite Earth was Legends. And I saw this and I was like, just throw it in there. So this is probably in better shape than the one I have. My books from the 80s are a little bit beat up, most of them, because I actually read them and I kept them out and I didn't have bags and boards, and nor did I care. I would get an old linen closet if we moved and stack my books up like a library, or I'd have my own closet in my room and I would stack them up, keep them organized. I didn't care. I don't know why I got this now that I'm looking at it, but it's the Swamp Thing. I love my Swamp Thing, but this is by somebody named V. Apparently that's it. That's their name, by V. And it looks like this is 4 of 10 miniseries. I know nothing about it, but it was Swamp Thing. I'm prepared to be pissed off. I'm going in open-minded, but hey, what can you do? All right, we're doing good there, guys. Now we're into the Marvel's 80s bronze. But before I do that, I want to show you something here on these while I was Christmas shopping. And, I did a little $1.75. I used to have an immaculate up until probably about 2015. I had these Johnny Lightnings. I had some plastic stuff from maybe the 70s. Who knows and stuff, right? But to me, this is the greatest Batmobile car ever. All right. I saw a replica of this a few months ago at a comic book convention in Abingdon. I think I put the pictures on Instagram. Who knows? You know, I have a picture of me in the Bat Cave at a museum. Was it Ripley's? Some museum back in 1998. You weren't supposed to take pictures, so somebody, of course, took a picture before cell phones, and the flash actually would set off an alarm. I have that somewhere. But anyway, you know, another little Batmobile, Hot by Hot Wheels. You know, there you go. And I keep forgetting, which do I need? Do I need the Bat motorcycle with sidecar, or is it the helicopter? So this could possibly be my second or third helicopter when it's actually the Bat cycle I need. I don't know. I want to have to grab the box out, unpack it, and look. So yeah, I will buy the '60s Batman stuff forever. All right, Breen coming in with the Swamp Thing reassurance. V is Ram V. He is actually a good writer, and I've heard good things about Swamp Thing. That is fantastic. So something has risen out of the swamp of mediocrity and has gotten some good feedback. That's amazing. That's great. So let's look at some of this Bronze Age stuff, right? And some of the stuff looks familiar. Some of the stuff I either already have or it was in the house when I was a kid. But Marvel Superheroes reprint series, I'm sure this is Ron Wilson in here. So we get a reprint of some Silver Age Abomination versus the Hulk. This should be good. Yeah, so this should be very good. I love this stuff. The bag is beat up, but the book is fantastic. And I did flip through the books to make sure that if they were supposed to have a value stamp, they're in there. I've talked about that before, and the people that are in the chat and stuff, I don't need to tell them why you should always check out your Bronze Age books to make sure the stamp is there. Now I'll pick this one up, and I don't know if this is from '79, I'm sure. A variant. This may be what was direct market back then. I don't know. I'm gonna look up and see what the slash with the UPC symbol is. I've always seen it, but I was never curious why it was there. But you know, this is probably my second or third copy of Avengers 190 with John Byrne. This is around the time of the Yesterday Quest. This was actually around the time that I was reading current Marvel when I was like 6 years old. It was like what I would do is anything that was a team book, I would pick up with my money. I bought my first comic with my money in 1979, Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes. And then I would, even back then, I was so cheap and stuff and tried to, pinch a nickel and stuff that I would get team books to get more heroes. And this run where it was Ralph Macchio, Mark Grunwald, who knows, a lot of people were on these plotting and writing together, and then John Byrne was doing the art. Fantastic. George Perez came on, started doing covers and interiors and stuff. First 200s of issue of the Avengers, I think, are the best. The second best would be, in my opinion, the Roger Stern, John Buscema, Tom Palmer years of the 80s when I was in middle school collecting them. So, yeah, there's a little nostalgia. Now, here's what was interesting about this. This was a dollar box, and somebody had put a Post-it note on this saying that this was $25. I don't know why. I just took the Post-it note off and put it in the stack. I'm like, that's ridiculous, I'm sure. But, when you have a big stack of Bronze Age Marvel books for $1 in front of you, and you know you're going to get a better deal because you've met with these people before. And as I'm talking, I know somebody actually put $5 on the back of this. But, yeah, I've got a Captain Marvel number 47 from the Bronze Age. Was that a Sentry? Yeah, it's a Sentry. So, yeah, some goodness, some Captain Marvel goodness there. And I'm sure this is not a Jim Starlin. We'll just stop right there before I go down. I've gone down several rabbit holes already. I'm finding Marvel Team Up left and right. So, of course, I want to be getting them. So, here's Miss Marvel with Spider-Man, number 62. And these are gorgeous. Now, not a big deal. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a huge Marvel Team Up nut. I like the John Byrne issues. I usually pick those up no matter what. But I got a thing for the Super Scroll, which has John Byrne ties. The Super Scroll was the one that had me figuring out to follow a creator in comics instead of a character, right? Because the Super Scroll had a storyline going through whatever book at Marvel that John Byrne did. All right. Was it Alpha Flight or Fantastic Four? And then I think he popped up in Alpha Flight number 9 and 10, 10 and 11, yeah, 9 and 10, 10 and 11 with Sasquatch. And we go all the way up. Storyline is finished in Namor of all places when the Super Skrull was posing his Iron Fist. Okay, but yeah, there's a little storyline that John Byrne had over the year where he had something going with the Super Skrull, right? So yeah, Super Skrull fan, man, has all the powers. There's an era there where I just love how these villains would come up and they were just a combination of all the heroes, right? You had Mimic, who had all the original X-Men powers. You had the Super Adaptoid. Is that who I'm thinking of? Was it the Super Adaptoid? The guy was green, right? He had all the powers of the Avengers. He had Hawkeye's mask and Captain America's shield and whatever. I can't believe I'm going blank on this, man. After I talk about this, one of my favorite characters in Charles 66 characters was a character that popped up in Green Lantern, and I think he may have gone into the Justice League, but it was a sort of a gaseous alien out in space, and it ended up having Batman's head with no mask, Wonder Woman, Superman, a variety of their costume, and when he would throw a punch, you actually saw the spring in his hand as it came at you and sprung back. I love that guy. Why can I not think of her? And it was female. I remember it had, you find out it had a nest of eggs on a, superheroes, comic book stuff can be so cool sometimes. It just had a nest of eggs out on a floating asteroid. Anyway, and then I went back and forth. I kind of put this back, and this is one of the books I grabbed back. I was like, man, I'm getting a lot of Marvel team up. It's there, but two stories: Power Man and the Son of Satan, and Spider-Man and Hulk. And I got to tell you, man, John Romita Jr. art. I think it's Dan Green. This is rough. This is a rough cover. I got to tell you. He was young, starting out, so yeah, But I don't know. I don't know. It seems like the steam had just run out of this series by the time I went into the 80s. A lot of things going into another decade just didn't do well every now and then. I don't know. Maybe you'll read this. But the Son of Satan always killed me because even as a kid, I was like, he should be a bad guy. It's the Son of Satan. And lo and behold, I remember when they made him a bad guy and everybody was like kind of surprised. Nobody ever talked about the Son of Satan. But when they finally made him a bad guy, I was like, surprise, surprise, the Son of Satan is evil. Who knew? Guy walks, it's like everything on him. He's like Booster Gold. He's the Booster Gold of the Marvel Universe, right? His origin tells you he's a villain. We're not talking about paying for the sins of dad. You know what I mean? I mean, the guy walks around with a pentagram on his chest, before the heavy metal, glam years of the 80s and stuff, right? It's all right there. He is a villain. Why are people acting like he's a hero? I wish they had wrote it to where he was a mole the whole time. You know what I mean? That's why he joined an unteam like the Defenders. Not a lot of people would be checking him out and stuff, right? Anyway, and then I'm excited about these. I don't think they made very many Marvel Spectaculars. A lot of them that I remember are Jack Kirby reprints of his Fantastic Thor stuff. So here's 10 and 11. And as I'm looking at this, there's a coffee stain going down through there. Let's hope it's a coffee stain. And, as I sat here and drank coffee, some people apparently did the same thing. Apparently I'm holding up a tradition I didn't realize about. So here's some Jack Kirby greatness, two-part story here. I may just try to finish this series as I run across it. I really don't think they made more than 25, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I've never really done the research. But yeah. And again, whoever had these had $5 on them also. And I got them for less than $1, $20 for this whole haul. And Vince Collada, yeah, I feel like I'm a broke record. But I realize with YouTube, every 2 to 3 years, you have people that just drop out and then you get a new bunch of fresh faces that come to your channel and stuff. But Vince Collada, I'm upset about it when I found out about it as well as other people. But Vince Collada apparently has the reputation of he has a reputation of where, like, to beat deadlines and to do things, he had no problem erasing a penciler's pencils, right? But it worked out for Thor because with Kirby doing so much work and things like that, it gave his Thor work, his Asgardian work, a very unique feel to it. So, less is more sometimes, I guess. A very minimalist approach to some of the panels and stuff, but yet he was destroying Jack Kirby art. You know, I'm like, I could make another joke, but I want to get political. But anyway, and then we have some Marvel 2-in-1. And this is a series that cracked me up. You had Spider-Man with his Marvel team up. And I think I said this somewhere along the line. I've said it many times. I got a whole video about the many deaths of the Marvel Universe where people consider the real death of the Marvel Universe. But Marvel Team Up is interesting because Spider-Man is their Marvel's character. You know, this is our Mickey Mouse. This is our Marvel one. But that's superficial to me. That's like a mascot out there, right? When it comes to what made Marvel work with their continuity and their characters and stuff, the best character that symbolizes that is the Thing. And he got a Marvel 2-in-1 where he would meet up with a hero every month and stuff, right? So Marvel 2-in-1, Thing with the Machine Man. So of course I had to get my X-51, a Kirby character meeting a Kirby character, and these were in there. So we got Thing and Spider-Man. A lot of people forget the ties that Spider-Man had with Fantastic Four back in the days when they knew their continuity and stuff, right? The stuff with Spider-Man, and I mean, they were Spider-Man #1. Spider-Man and Human Torch's a little rivalry. You know, they're buddies. It was a big deal when they got together. The Thing in there, you know, things like that. And then there are characters. I will never forget the Avengers book I read as a kid, right in the middle of the Kree Skrull War. Kree Skrull War. But you open it up in the splash page, and I didn't realize who Neil Adams was. What was funny is I was reading Dead Man in that Kree Skrull War at the same time in a stack one Sunday morning. They were the stepdad's books. And I was sitting there reading it, and you open up the page, and it's just this fantastic splash page by Neil Adams. And I didn't know who Neil Adams was or what significance was. We're talking like 1978, guys. So anyway, and I'm a kid, and you open it up, and it's Triton on a dock coming out of the water. And I never saw such a realistic body take up a splash page so boldly, just grab you with those colors and the green and stuff, right? Around the same time, 7-Eleven, so I might have my year. This is probably 78 or 79, but around the same time, I became a Creature of the Black Lagoon fan because you would see these commercials where you're supposed to go to 7-Eleven, get your 3D glasses, and late at night, this local channel, probably WCYB, CBS, Channel 7, which is still around and stuff, of course. It was probably them because the only 7-Eleven that I knew of back in the day was Johnson City and Roanoke. Virginia, Johnson City, Tennessee, Roanoke, Virginia. But anyway, but they were showing the 3D version of the Creature of the Black Lagoon. You had to have your glasses to watch it. So yeah, it all ties together with the big picture of what was going on with the kid. So we got the Thing in Triton. I absolutely love Triton. I love some of these monsters, if you will, that are heroes and stuff. You know, of course, he's an Inhuman and stuff, right? But I'd already figured out that the colors for a villain were purple and green, and the colors for the superheroes were blue and red. I was already putting that together when I was a kid. And I'm like, he's got the colors of a villain, but he's a good guy. Big deal when you're a kid. Big deal when you're a kid, right? And I might as well just start getting some of this series. I have #1. I was there when this came out. I remember having a magazine or two of this. And it was definitely of its era, and it should have been, and I'm ex-military, so I should have more of appreciation for this. But it was actually, as great as the 80s was and stuff, this was actually a very sore spot for me for some reason. I knew people who had been in NAM. I ended up serving with some people in the National Guard who were in NAM. You know what I'm saying? I saw the people that were strung out and saw the people that were messed up by it in real life. And I'm not talking about them flipping out when they heard a loud noise and stuff. And we're talking about their whole thought process and stuff. And then I remember the platoon coming out and people getting mad and going on talk shows and saying that's not how it was. No, that's how it was. And it seemed like it was just, you know, a very uncomfortable time because I didn't know who to believe. You know what I mean? I did not know who to believe, right? So when the book came out, I got 1 or 2 of them, and I found out the writer actually was in Vietnam and stuff. So like, that's pretty cool. But I went on the superheroes and the new universe and missed out on some other great stuff because I was spending my money on the new universe. Uh, I still have those books. But here's some issues of the name, right? Number 20. Fantastic covers. I don't know about the stories inside, but I've read people who are going back and really picking this up. Number 21 and number 24. And I think we all know the historical photograph that's being taken there. That's what I mean. And not to be that guy, but now that I'm seeing this, I remember seeing this ad on tons of comics. It's TSR, but now I want this Buck Rogers game. I didn't even know it existed. I never really paid attention to what this was. So anyway, I got some issues with the name. The book that they ended up putting Frank Castle in, the Punisher, if you will, before he was the Punisher. What we got here? William Byrd is all over this. All right, stuff. We're about to get into some. Yeah, we're making good time here. Okay. The only bad thing about those late 70s, early 80s Marvel's reprint titles is that the panels and pages will be dropped to fit the 17-page format at the time. Yeah, I totally get it. A little bit of what I'm doing, liking those, is I have absolutely. I usually end up being like, no, nostalgia is not a part of some of the things I talk about, and a lot of things I talk about, I can be objective and stuff. Nah, these are totally nostalgic for me, so I totally get what you're saying. Yeah, absolutely right. Okay, guys, 3 or 4 more, and I'll show the Christmas gift here in a minute, man. We've made some good time. Oh yeah, let me take a minute here to show 2 things. Believe it or not, I have not been getting a lot of comic book reading done here lately, but what I have been doing is I've been getting on eBay and I've been getting a bunch of Philip Jose Farmer books. Wald Newton, I've talked enough about it. Philip Jose Farmer has been and has been for a while. I could pull off the books over here, the World of Tears series, River World, bits and pieces here and there as I look over there. But anyway, Philip Jose Farmer, I would love to say Douglas Adams is my favorite author, or Twain. Some other people over here, Isaac Asimov, I considered my favorite forever, but it's got to be Philip Jose Farmer, just by the bulk of what I've read and the books that I've held on to and what I have. So anyway, I've actually been reading A Feast Unknown here. This is a trilogy. I finished up A Feast Unknown. Never have I been more uncomfortable reading a book, especially chapter 21 of Feast Unknown. I actually read it and acted it out for my wife as I did it, and she was cracking up. I was sitting here like, is this satire? Ultra violent, ultra hyper violent, hypersexual, let's put it that way. And chapter 21, I have a new saying. I have not felt this uncomfortable since I read chapter 21 of A Feast Unknown. Then it calms down. Okay. It's Doc Savage, but he's called Doc Caliban. Tarzan, but he's Lord Grandith. And you find out that their dad is Jack the Ripper. Let's put it that way. And then Lord of the Trees, this is ultimate pulp. This is ultimate straightforward pulp. There's no chapters in it because it's one continuous story. And it starts out with Tarzan in a plane that gets shot down over the ocean. I think he's about, 7 or 8 miles out in the ocean trying to get to the coast of Africa. He ends up fighting and swimming through sharks, and then mercenaries are trying to kill him. And it was so funny because after like going through half the book of him just trying to get started to get where he's going and having all these people try to kill him and fighting, having planes blown up and fighting sharks and stuff, that he still ends up getting captured. And the first night he slept, and he was just sort of like, I'd had an eventful day, so I slept good. So yeah. And now I'm on the 3rd book of the trilogy of Doc Savage and Tarzan here, The Mad Goblin. Started it. I've been flying through these books. They're fantastic. I have more of the Wald Newton books. I probably have about 8 or 9 books to start to get through, and I've already got 2 1/4 done. So they're reads where it's not a lot of work. Let's put it that way. I have made it. So let's kill these bots, guys. And Philip Jose Farmer is one of us. He is a fan of the pulp stuff. He's a fan of all this fantastic stuff. And I got no problem showing these, right? So one of the things I've been doing is I've been doing art trading cards. And I'm probably going to redo this bottom one. I'm not happy with the line work. It came out way too thick. I was playing around with some new materials and stuff, right? So the ones that I finished up last week and last night, playing around, they're on Instagram. Space Ghost. Now, what's funny about me showing this is that I've jokingly said that finally have my Space Ghost set done. These are actually taken for a little bit. I used them as models from a Steve Rude cover for Future Quest. And I've actually put them on Instagram because you can see the size difference, and they're not their exact copies. They were just models. My style, I guess, sort of came through. But I said I was not doing the monkey, LOL. You talk about the love that Blip the monkey from Space Ghost has. That people need them too. And then, of course, Scott Connor, for you guys that remember Cabinet of Chaos in this channel and stuff, was like, he's never done a self-portrait. And I just remembered I better go like those comments or he's going to think I'm dodging them, I think, or something. I'm being rude, I guess. So, yeah, I've been working on those too here and there. And I got a couple ideas of some new ones I'm going to do, right? So, a few books here, then I'll show the big Christmas gift set here. But I finished. These are eBay. This is what I'm talking about. Trying to get off eBay, off of a seller. I got the last issue of Secret Origins. Every character on here is in the book. Black Canary, Dolphin, Jay Garrick. Cannot remember the cowboy's name. Trying to tip my tongue. The Flash and stuff, right? But this is the last issue, double size of Secret Origins. I probably just need 3 issues to have a complete set. I bought the first year and then sporadically of Secret Origins and some annuals off the rack when they came out. Then they just weren't there on the racks anymore. I don't know why. And I could have swore I had this. Number 48 has a Grant Morrison story in it. There's another issue where Neil Gaiman did Poison Ivy's origin. And then Grant Morrison, if you're into his Animal Man, he has an issue of Secret Origins in the 30s somewhere that ties directly. You read his Animal Man book and it tells you to pick up the Secret Origins, and then you come back and the book picks up from that story. It's very important. So Secret Origins is just a fun book, and I love the reference material. I really do. So I don't know what happened to that book, but I ordered it. Then I also ordered John Byrne's last issue of Wonder Woman. And again, I was collecting this, and then it just disappeared from the racks and stuff. So I need a couple issues from the 20s, and that was probably it. That was when John Byrne was sort of on the decline. The last great thing that I think John Byrne actually did was the first generation, Superman Batman Generations 4-issue miniseries. Okay, so I'm doing this. I hope Breen is still out there, because maybe he, since he had he let me know about the writer V, if you will. But I did it. I'm not a Tom King hater, but I'm not a Tom King fan. I'm the guy that kind of laughed a little bit when people are trying to say that he was the next Alan Moore. I was like, oh no, sir. And he has had 2-3 things that I just thought were horrid when I read them. I mean, again, not a hater, but not a fan. Does that make sense? Like, don't. Anyway, so this Rorschach miniseries came out. And back in September, I went through a dollar bin, and I think the guy might have made him. I think he dropped the price. I don't know. I'm glad I make videos. Not that it's important, but I ended up getting 10 of the 12 issues of Tom King's Rorschach. I knew I would end up finding them for cheap and stuff, right? And then I didn't have 2 and 10. And then I've been doing this thing where I'm getting short boxes and I'm rearranging comics. If I put this camera around, you're going to see stacks of boxes and stuff that I have not put up because I'm still organizing. And then I made a Watchmen box. I have enough Watchmen material, including the original miniseries and stuff, to where it takes up a short box. I mean, I couldn't believe it. So that made me want to be a completist. So I ended up getting issue 2 and 10. They had, I think, 2 covers per issue, if you will. But I ended up getting issue 2 and 10 of the miniseries, of the 12-issue series. I read one. I bought number 1 when it came out, the Jay Lee cover, and that was it. So I've read 1, 3, and a little bit of 4. I'm just going to go ahead and finish it. I am intrigued with the concept that he's doing in the book. If you read it, he's tying in Frank Miller and Steve Ditko, and he's bringing in actual old he's done something interesting. I just don't expect it to land. You know what I'm saying? Like the execution, I don't see it to land. I stuck in with him through his whole Mr. Miracle 12 issue series, and it didn't land. The guy really does do. We're paying for a comic to give this guy free therapy. All right. Then something I got to complete a set, Lock and Key. What is this called? The Golden Age. I cannot recommend Joe Hill's and Gabriel Rodriguez. I cannot recommend Lock and Key enough. It's its own thing. Lock and Key were several different miniseries to make one big story. And the first one I read, I was out, but it was world building. And I ended up getting one of these trades for practically nothing, like the fourth one. I have them all on my shelf over here. I could just, right here's my Lock and Key hardback books and stuff, right? But anyway, I ended up reading the fourth one or something, and I was like, oh my God. And they actually get better and better. Well, this is a series of prehistory stories that tie into Lock and Key, but it also has the two-issue series where it crossed over with the Sandman universe. I skipped to the end, read that one, and I'm just going to say that I was underwhelmed, but Joe Hill had cool concepts. He brought in the demon. It had some cool stuff. It may be me just being overcritical, okay? I think I was expecting more. We're coming up to that point where I'm like, that's not how I would have done it, and that is not a critique, okay? That's unfair to the team of people that did that. Probably with a reread and getting out of my head and putting my expectations to the side, it's probably just fine. It's, really good. So yeah, that's me on that, right? But Lock and Key, highly recommend the whole thing. Skip the Netflix show, in my opinion, or watch the Netflix show and never read the series, and you should be okay. Okay, all right. We got a Philip Jose Farmer fan. I want to say something here. I should have brought it downstairs. A Feast Unknown was a hard read. Farmer's Tarzan Alive was quite enjoyable. I'm glad you're saying that, because I got Philip Jose Farmer confused me, right? Because there are three different versions of Tarzan, if you will. And I don't want to butcher this. I want to be quick because I have one more thing to show here. But basically, he had a book called Lord Tiger. I thought that was Tarzan Alive, right? Lord Tiger is the story of, starts out and you're like, oh, this is a Tarzan story. He sees the helicopter. He follows the helicopter and he finds he's in a fenced in jungle. And I'm like, oh, this is like Truman Show. You know what I mean? Tarzan Alive is an actual thing where Tarzan is a real person. I think I'm getting this right? And it's his actual biography, and it talks about the Walt Newton theory, where a meteor came over a village in the late 1700s, and all your pulp heroes and James Bond, Sherlock Holmes, and all these people are related because they're descendants of them, right? And then, of course, he's got this Feast Unknown where it feels like satire, and I don't know if it's actually a Walt Newton book or not, and now they're starting to talk about parallel universes that are mentioned in Philip Jose's work. Who knows, right? So yeah, for years I thought Tarzan Alive was the Lord Tiger story. Okay, we'll just leave it at that. I don't want to ruin the story. Well, here we are, guys. Here's where my wife did too much, and I love her to death, and I was very appreciative of this, and I was actually shocked and speechless when I got this, right? But when I was a kid and when I was 5 years old, my tastes definitely were a bit more adult than they should have been, I guess, at that age. I was still reading Super Goof. I was still reading, Beagle Boys. I was still enjoying my drawing Charlie Brown and my Sunday funnies and all that stuff, right? I mean, so there was things that were age appropriate. But I sat down and my stepdad took me and the mom to a community college where we sit down amongst a bunch of hippies who had missed out on the love. And we watched Wizards by Ralph Bakshi. And then I get home and I'm starting to delve into these books and I'm reading heavy metal, the American version of, the heavy metal, Bernie Wrightson, Mobius and all that stuff, boobies in them, lots of boobies. And then all of a sudden I see Heavy Metal, the movie, and I'm like, oh yeah, I know that guy. And they did it. There's that dude and all this stuff, right? I recognize from the heavy metal stuff, right? So then Blade Runner came out, and I already had these feels of like this adult stuff that was out there and everything like that. And then all of a sudden, there's a lull, and I'm hardcore into comics, and I'm reading, trying to read Elric and trying to do all this other stuff as I'm being a kid and going outside and playing and getting my GI Joes and my He-Man and horrible things going on in the house and stuff like that, just living my life. And then all of a sudden I see this Akira. All right. And then after Akira, I see this horrible. What was it Akira first? No, actually, it was Warriors of the Wind first, which was this horrible cut for America of Nausicaa. You follow me and all this stuff, right? And then I saw Akira, and it was over, right? Bootleg VHS of Akira, dubbed. You know what I mean? So my wife had gone out and has gotten me the box set, the complete box set of the original Akira manga. Now, why, hey, Tim, if you're so appreciative, Howler Mouse, why did you not do a video showing this and stuff, right? Because I have followed this anniversary edition. This is the 35th anniversary, 1982 to 2017. This came out years ago. And there are much better videos where people have lazy Susans showing you flipping the box around and showing the inside of the books, doing camera angles, and they're doing different cuts and doing all the stuff and going through there. There's already videos out of this set that are much better than I would do. And basically, I would be better off as a podcast talking about Akira than trying to show you shit. But anyway, since we're all here, so basically, this thing opens. You can go watch the other videos. It opens in a durable case, and there are the books with an extra book in there. And it is heavy. Now, it wouldn't be as heavy if I wasn't sitting down. Don't get me wrong and stuff, right? So, yeah, an Akira box set. I'm already through the first one. And I just happened to try to keep everything. So, when I unwrapped it, this is what tells, this was glued to it, and that, little glue you can remove. So here's what's in the set, right? Love my wife. I ended up getting her some manga books also, which was funny. She's into Aido. Anyway, I'm not even going to try. I have to have this stuff in front of me to make sure I get it right. But she's into some very cool, very dark, very sweet stuff when it comes to manga. The Girl from the Other Side is her favorite. I highly recommend that. I really do. So I bought her 2 leather bound collections. There'll be 3 of them to get the whole series, I think. She now has 2. The other one doesn't come out till March. I'm telling this I'm keeping in mind for myself more than talking to you guys. But anyway, all 6 Akira volumes presented for the first time in the original right to left reading format. A revised and updated translation that includes Katsuhiro Otomo's original hand-drawn sound effects, never before seen in the English edition. So to get the sound effects, you have to go in the back and look at the page number in the panel to hear the sound effects. That apparently pissed off a lot of people. I would have liked it to be in color, but I'm not upset. I'm like, hey, that's cool. That's cool. Whatever. The Rare Akira Club art book containing a detailed look behind the scenes. I think I need to go ahead and just get that out and read that after we're done here. Hardcover books with cover designs taken directly from the Japanese first editions, housed in a durable box built to last. An exclusive iron-on, good for health, bad for education patch. Over 2,500 pages of manga and art in one box. So, yeah. I keep all this stuff. And luckily, this fits right on top of the books when you close it. When I was putting it in there, my wife was sitting there like, it's not going to fit. And then I closed the box, and there was silence. So, yeah. So, anyway. So, that's it, guys. Happy New Year. Thanks for hanging out with me. An hour and 15 minutes is not bad for this show to show what we have here. And again, a lot of this stuff has just caught my eye. It's a love of comics. I actually read this stuff. I give things a chance that I don't like. And then there's stuff I just absolutely love. And isn't that what it's all about? And at the end of the day, I think the biggest part of having a great collection is having variety. So that's why I take a chance on some of these things, and I get them for cheap, which is already fine. So let me show you two more things here that I can't remember. I'm seriously don't remember what I put in some of these hauls, but these are sitting here. But if anybody has read this, let me know, because I got these books, I think $3 a piece. But this is the hardback collected edition of DC and Dark Horse crossing over Wonder Woman with Conan. But it's got a Gail Simone story, and I'm real hesitant to. I don't want to read something that's not going to entertain me and just make me shake my head. I've had enough of that, right? And then I do have to say that I have a whole new respect for Andy Kubert. I'm not going to end up being a big Kubert fan, don't get me wrong. But I got to tell you, man, these unwrapped editions where it's just their pencils with the stories, Andy Kubert's Batman stuff they did with Grant Morrison and Neil Gaiman and stuff. I have to tell you, man, these are some of the tightest pencils I have ever seen since I've seen some Sal Buscema original artwork. Holy crap, man. What you see is exactly what he draws. So, yeah, Hubert, well done, sir. Well done, sir. Okay, guys, that's it. Happy New Year. Be excellent to each other. Thanks for hanging out. Like, sub, subscribe. I should have said that at the beginning. And let people know we're here. Okay? All right. Bye.